Welcome to Headline News. This is Maria Han. U.S. Senate panel to delay consideration of anti-CCP bill. On Friday, the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee announced that the consideration of a comprehensive legislation focused on countering the influence of the Chinese Communist Party will take place on April 21st instead of the original date of April 14th. On Thursday, bipartisan senators on the Foreign Relations Committee jointly announced the Strategic Competition Act of 2021, a 280-page bill that includes a range of diplomatic and strategic initiatives to counter Beijing. The bill addressed imposing sanctions over human rights issues in Hong Kong and Xinjiang, establishing direct diplomatic ties with Taiwan officials, limiting CCP's influence and penetration of American universities, and increasing military spending in the Indo-Pacific region. Members of the Foreign Relations Committee had said they hoped the committee would pass the bill on April 14th, clearing the way for the whole Senate to quickly schedule a vote. On Friday, Reuters reported that the week-long vote delay would give committee members more time to understand the bill and draft amendments. The Foreign Relations Committee had not yet given an official explanation for the delay. The new bill is part of the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's effort announced in February to pass legislation to counter the threat of the CCP. It is the first bill introduced by the new Congress to counter the CCP. The bill proposes $655 million in foreign military financing funding for the Indo-Pacific region over 5 fiscal years and a total of $450 million for the Indo-Pacific Maritime Security Initiative and related programs over the same period to prioritize the military investments necessary to achieve United States political objectives in the Indo-Pacific. The new bill would expand the scope of the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, which would review financial transactions for potential national security risks. The draft bill also includes requirements to crack down on disinformation propaganda by the CCP at American universities, concerns about human rights issues, and deepening ties with Taiwan. The bill also says Washington must encourage allies to do more about Beijing's aggressive and assertive behavior, including working together on arms control. Biden to reform the U.S. Supreme Court, add justices, and abolish the tenure system. President Joe Biden signed an executive order on Friday, April 9th, establishing a presidential commission on Supreme Court reform and appointing a panel to study reform of the U.S. Supreme Court. Media analysis suggests that Biden's move may be intended to populate the High Court with more liberal justices and eliminate the lifetime system for justices in order to advance his leftist agenda. Fox News reported that Biden had promised to form a Supreme Court Reform Commission after Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death last October, and liberals have been urging an expansion of the Supreme Court to populate the conservative-leaning court with more liberal justices. Because former President Trump's 3 justice appointments created a 6-3 conservative majority on the Supreme Court, the court's tilt towards conservatives opened up the possibility of the Supreme Court overturning the legalization of abortion and revoking gay rights. So far, however, the Supreme Court justices have been slow to move on these issues. The White House said in a statement that Biden appointed a bipartisan panel of law professors, former judges, and others familiar with the legal system and asked them to issue a report within 180 days of the first public meeting. In addition to discussing the controversy over whether the number of Supreme Court justices should be expanded, the reformers seek to impose term limits on Supreme Court justices. Currently, Supreme Court justices are appointed for life. From a historical perspective, the U.S. Constitution does not specify how many justices the Supreme Court must have, and Congress has frequently changed the number of Supreme Court justices for partisan purposes. But since 1869, Congress has reduced the number of justices to the current 9. This is the first time the idea of adding more justices has been formally discussed since 1937, when then-President Franklin D. Roosevelt proposed to Congress a failed plan to add more justices. Incumbent Justice Stephen Breyer says Supreme Court expansion could erode public trust. Kyle Becker, editor-in-chief of Becker News, commented that the only reason such a commission would be founded is to pack the Supreme Court with radical justices that would ensure the nation's highest court would not be able to strike down unconstitutional measures, such as gun control executive orders. The Biden administration has taken the first step towards packing the U.S. Supreme Court with more radical justices. The Republican Party will gather at Trump's Mar-a-Lago this weekend. As reported by Fox News, U.S. Republican Party elites will hold a Republican National Committee donor retreat at Palm Beach, Florida this weekend, with several of the party's potential 2024 presidential contenders attending. The two-day meeting will be held at the Four Seasons Resort. On Saturday night, April 10th, the conference will move to Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Trump will give a speech at that time. According to several sources, Republicans expected to be there include Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and both of Florida's Republican senators Rick Scott and Mark Rubio. All 6 of these politicians are expected to be Republican candidates for the next presidential election. However, Trump, who will speak at the conference, is also considered likely to run again in 2024. It's still more than a year and a half until the next presidential election begins, which means it will be after the 2022 midterm elections. However, this weekend's donor conference will be the third gathering of the year for the Republican elites. Those involved in planning the meeting said the main purpose of the meeting is to share with donors the Republican Party's growth plan as developed by the Republican National Committee and how donors can help Republicans achieve their plans. Currently, Republicans are aiming to win back majorities in the House and Senate in the 2022 midterm elections. In addition, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and former South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint are currently at Sea Lake Estates for a 2-day fundraising party for the newly formed nonprofit organization. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.